Who's ready for some more Fire Emblem? Hello everyone, my name is Kibi, and after a bit of a break, I am finally back with Chapter 12 of my Fire Emblem 8 0% Growths low turn count playthrough. So the first thing to know about Chapter 12 is that we get thrown immediately into the chapter, no world map usage or access. It's kind of like earlier with Chapter 8, as you may remember, and again, you may be caught off guard. However, as long as you're prepared, you'll be fine. It's not like world map gives that much anyways compared to just the regular armory. As for this actual map, it's a defeat boss map. We've encountered plenty of those, and you know, it's the standard fare. We just do the same old stuff, get to the boss as quickly as we can. However, for what it's worth, the enemies are getting tougher as usual, and also we have a few side objectives that we need to do. One thing to note is that there are a lot of magical enemies, which helps explain why we use this pure water with Forde to help him survive some magical enemies later on in the chapter. Also note that pure waters are not viable at this point, and Forde just used our last pure water. After we beat this chapter, we'll get pure waters, but this we need to manage with that one pure water until then, and Forde uses it right now. Seth survives. He's the main one doing most of the combat, as you probably expected. However, Tana will be encountering a good amount of magical enemies as well on her way to the village up north, and she would have liked the pure water. However, she needs to find an alternative way to get to that village reliably. Because as you can see, there are a lot of enemies. There are a lot of archers, shamans, mages, that sort of thing. And Tana's not very good at combat. She can't really survive many things. She can't kill many things. So she just prefers to evade as many enemies as she can. Meanwhile, it looked like the boss was a hero. His name's Kalak. He's kind of plot relevant. However, we're not prepared to deal with him quite yet. So the game spares us, and we encounter this Cyclops guy instead. In fact, this is the first real map with both monster and human enemies, I believe. And so that's kind of intriguing. The boss is a Cyclops. Those guys are very defensively tough, and they're quite a bit strong. However, he does at least equip a hand axe initially, and he's not very accurate either. Regardless, we need to get quite a few units over to him to kill him quickly. And as I said, his inventory consists of a hand axe, and it also consists of a sword slayer. And the sword slayer is a very interesting weapon. It's a reaver weapon, or sort of like a reaver weapon, in that it's an axe that beats swords. However, it's not just any axe that beats swords like the sword reaver. It also deals effective damage against heroes and sword masters, and myrmidons and mercenaries, that sort of group. And that can be very useful to have around. We really need that, because heroes and sword masters are quite fast, and that basically means we can't one-round them very quickly. So we need to make sure that he drops his sword slayer. Meanwhile, again, Tana is trying to position herself such that she can visit the village and evade as many enemies as possible. However, to the left, there are 3 enemies that she can't really evade at all, at least not without some help. There are the Cavalier that just attacked her, the Shaman all the way to the left, and that Mage kind of to the top left that's just sitting there menacingly. He has an Elfire Tome, which actually means he deals quite a bit more damage than you would expect. And in fact, the Mage plus the Shaman would kill Tana. The Mage plus the Cavalier would also kill Tana, however, the Cavalier is using a sword, so she manages to exactly survive if she equips a lance for weapon triangle. However, there are not many units that can bait the Shaman without also baiting the Cavalier. In fact, the only unit that could do that that's not otherwise occupied is our good man Ross, all the way from Chapter 7. He manages to contribute again. You see that he barely survives, and he just kind of baits away the Shaman from Tana, and that lets her reliably survive and get to the village. Meanwhile, we're killing these enemies using some interesting weapons. Note that Dozla has a one-use hand axe that he just used. It's very important that we have a 1-use hand axe and also an 8-use steel axe. You're gonna see Dozla have a steel axe that Ducel used a lot last chapter, and he's gonna use it more this chapter so that it can get to 8 uses. We need those 2 weapons to have specific weapon uses so that we can clear chapter 13 next chapter in as few turns as possible. It's probably one of my favorite strategies in the game. However, it does involve a lot of preparation. Even minor stuff such as weapon uses ends up being very useful. Meanwhile, a lot of enemies are kind of surrounding us, some fighters and stuff approaching from the bottom. We also have a few scary enemies from the left, and if we let them kind of roam around, they would kill units like Vanessa, who would be weak to the archer, for example. So we have Forde block that left passage. However, he would actually die to the Cavalier plus Shaman plus archer. Those are the 3 enemies that can attack him, and he would just die immediately to them if he didn't use that pure water on turn 1. And it's very nice that we had that pure water use available so that he doesn't need to dodge anything. Meanwhile, our other units are going around. Seth and Cormag and Joshua are all right about where they need to be in order to approach the boss next turn. As I said, we want the Sword Slayer that he drops, and he only drops the Sword Slayer if he equips the hand axe instead. He has the hand axe equipped initially, so essentially that all boils down to we need to kill him this player phase. We can't afford to wait around on enemy phase for multiple reasons, the main one being he would OHKO Joshua with the Sword Slayer, and he wouldn't drop the Sword Slayer if he equipped it. So we have to clear out a few enemies. Note that that Shaman has a guiding ring, so we can... That's our first guiding ring in the game since we missed the chapter 5 one. That's pretty cool. Meanwhile, other units are kind of just messing around while we killed the boss. Joshua got a double Killing Edge crit. That's semi-reliable since he's a Swordmaster now. That's how that promotion ends up being quite useful. Meanwhile, we just crit... Like, come on, he's so defensively tough that he just tanks 3 Killing Edge hits from both Joshua and Seth easily enough. That just shows how tough the Cyclops is. Tana visited the village and recruited a new unit. His name is Ewan. He is a trainee, which means that he's a joke. There's also a female Myrmidon to the left, an enemy one. Her name is Marisa. She is also a joke. However, we don't need to talk to her to recruit her, as long as we have Ewan recruited. And so, that is Chapter 12, cleared in 4 turns, I think. Yep, sounds right. I will see you guys next time. Have a nice day.